So let's see what are the two kinds of thought. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus. Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said this. Bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. Clear? Wholesome, unwholesome. That's all it is. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. Sensual desire is any of the senses. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. What is the meaning of affliction? Misery, dukkha. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. Just that reminder that this thought, it's a pleasant sensual thought. Forget about unpleasant, you anyway don't want the unpleasant thought. But even a pleasant sensual thought is not something that can bring me real sukha. It is only bringing me affliction or misery. How? It's pleasant, no?
You crave for it more and more.
So what? So nice, so much fun and craving.
It disturbs the calm state of mind.
Okay, it disturbs the calm state of my mind.
It's not that, it's so much to do with that. But if we start giving example, everybody will laugh. But that's a nonsense. Having a small pleasant thought which gives you sensual. Later on, you will have so many effects of it. You'll cling on to it. You will get attached to it. You want. You'll think so much about the just coconut water that you were explaining yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That has so much to do with. Later, you will have ragas and dveshas with so many people and things with that.
Have you started seeing this in your meditations? It's such a silly thought. It's not even something very important in your life. Something absolutely silly, and it takes so much time to get done with it, to get rid of it. Very silly, small, mundane thoughts can bother us. Right? Why are they bothering us? Because I have never realized before that this is going to cause me misery. I have never realized before this is going to cause somebody else misery. I have never realized that it is going to obstruct my path to Nibbana. If I realize these things, the moment that thought arises the first time, that's exactly when I will let it go. Yes? Now, how does it obstruct my way to Nibbana?
The thought won't let you stay in no thoughtless state.
That tranquility that some of us experienced at Jhana 3 and some of us have gone way ahead and experienced the softness of the void. Yes? That gets disturbed even by that pleasant thought. Even by that sukha. It completely shakes you. You're out of your so-called serenity just by a pleasant sensation. Are you seeing this? In that state, you don't even want that pleasant sensation because it causes a ripple in your absolutely serene lake. And what is Nibbana? Absolute cessation of the mind. Can cessation happen through the ripple or can cessation happen through the serenity? Yeah, it's so simple. It is so simple. Then why will I even entertain a pleasant thought when this becomes super clear to me? Yeah, now going through the jhanas, it becomes clear, no? You're enjoying that softness, that tranquility, that absolute quiet stage. You're so quiet, and there one pleasant thought comes. Arey, yaar. That whole thing got ruffled. It's not even a disturbing thought, it's just pleasant thought about somebody else. You're missing somebody. In your head or in your heart, you said, I love you to him or her. Pleasant thought. But it disturbed that awesome tranquility. Finish, gone. Now you have to work so hard right from the beginning with Anapana to come through all the jhanas and come back to the serenity. And you were like, that one thought, one did that. Experienced, how many of us experience this and are clear? Yeah, super clear. It disturbs us.
To that level that I'm scared to see any photograph also now. Just if I see that, I'm becoming unnecessarily physical. Even to see anybody, listen to anything. Now I know why those
rules of non-contact. Yeah. Because this is the only way, if I had not taken your phone away, would you be able to really focus? Would you be able to have that unification of mind that you have managed? And would you have even touched tranquility, even a little bit? Too much distraction just in that one little piece. Are you seeing this? The two kinds of thoughts become more and more clear to you, the wholesomeness and unwholesomeness, just by disturbing your jhanic state with your eyes open also. If you have a thought of ill will, I should say this to her. How dare she say this to me? Or how dare he say this to me? Even the first thought, I have to set her straight. It will disturb your jhanic-like state. And you will not want to disturb your own state. And for your own sake, you will not say it. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Affliction. Why did he use such a big word? Why affliction? It is really so big. That pain is really so harsh. It pains me only. I've not even opened my mouth to say anything to somebody else, but I thought. And that thought only pains me. It feels impure. And then you carry that impurity for some time. And you feel, how could I even think? How could I have a thought of ill will? Are you understanding now what he means by this? And it obviously obstructs your Nibbana. So those who are not able to meditate very easily and are not able to go into silence easily. They should think, is it that I do a lot of unwholesome thinking and unwholesome speech and unwholesome actions? Lying, stealing, having ill will for others, being cruel in your mind only, even before you do it outside. All this itself spoils that inner tranquility. And when you are so full of unwholesomeness, how do you even expect to get to quiet mind? कहाँ से आएगा tranquility? Possible नहीं है ना? Are you seeing this? The people who have very sincerely kept the vows since Buddha one, today is just day 4 and they are already in the immaterial jhanas. Are you seeing this? It's your vows and that purity and that sincerity of not doing something unwholesome that has brought you there. Otherwise, it was not possible. Understand this. How can it be so fast? Just because I maintained that purity. I stuck to my vows, so I got there so soon. And those who are not able to get there, it is because some impurity is still there and I need to work on myself. Nothing to feel bad about. Again, we take those vows strongly and start walking the path even more sincerely. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of ill will arose in me. A thought of cruelty arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of cruelty has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered thus, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of cruelty arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. Cruelty is not just through action, we are cruel with our words. A person who really lands up in the immaterial jhanas, the higher jhanas, finds it very difficult to be cruel. Finds it very difficult to be cruel. That meanness goes away. Yeah? So if you reach, say jhana number 8, yeah, and you have established there for some time, you will never act out of cruelty from a new initiative of cruelty. I'll explain what it means. It will only be a habitual tendency iske baad. If you've done something, you have a habit pattern of being cruel to one person in your life, one family member. Yeah? And that thought will come back. You will almost start because of the habitual tendency, but there will be something that will be stopping you. Yes? But a new initiation of new cruelty towards a new person will never start after this. You will only see the habitual tendency, sankharas kick in. Sometimes you win, sometimes you're going to lose. Yes? But after reaching that void of 8, something dies in you. Something totally dies in you. And you cannot revive it back. That's that unwholesome side of sanya, which dies in you. And that initiative to be cruel, to hurt, you cannot take only, because that side has died. See what I'm saying? Yeah? Still, even after reaching enlightenment, Ravana did what he had to do. Yes? So there is always a warning given at the end. But it's not very easy. It's not very easy because you find it too much of effort and you become super lazy after it. You can't take that burden of extra sanya. That dead sanya is a lot of work. Yeah? It's too much effort. So it's very, very easy, very, very doable for you to get to eat. And usually after reaching it, you don't want to do anything but eat. Yeah? It's Buddhivangi ka nasha. It's that kind of thing. There's nothing delicious, more delicious than that state. So you really don't want to ever get out of there once you're there. So this cruelty, this ill will, new initiative is a very rare occurrence after that. Yes, your past sankharas are going to come to test you, definitely, more and more. The less you react, the more your bag is going to get empty. Yeah? And you will get pretty boring for people, and that's fine. Just be with your boring self after that. Okay? Bhikkhus. Whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thought of renunciation to cultivate the thought of sensual desire. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. Did you get it? If you are going to tip over to the unwholesome side, your wholesome side is going to become weak. Yes, and this becomes so evident, so clear to you. Yeah, absolutely clear it becomes that the moment I even think this, my tranquility is shaken. I feel so shaken inside. I'm so impure. It's dirty. And then you yourself take that step back and again come to that tranquility, that quietness. Yeah? Few times you will shake because of habitual tendency. You have been cruel in the same manner to one or two people, but so many times that impression is very strong. No? So that is going to kick in, and that will be your true test. Just as in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, when the crops thicken, a cowherd would guard his cows by constantly tapping and poking them on this side and that with a stick to check and curb them. Why is that? Because he sees that he could be flogged, imprisoned, fined, or blamed if he let them stray into the crops. So too, I saw in unwholesome states danger, degradation, and defilement, and in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. A nice example. You have to do that to your mind someday. Aren't you doing that? Oh, in your meditation, you're like all over the place. What are you doing? What is this? What nonsense? You've taken a break from office, you've taken a break from your family, and you're all over the place thinking about them. Chalo, hike. This is only cleansing. This is only inner purity. You are now started to work on your own inner purity rather than blaming these other people, situations, things who you used to blame. You used to think my dukkha is because of him and her and that thing and that situation. If this situation would have not happened in my life, no, I was a much better person. So what are you blaming? Either situation or God. I am not the doer. So I am not the experiencer. See? Who did it? God did it. Yeah. But who's suffering? The logic kidhar hua? How God does and I suffer? The one who is not the doer has to not be the experiencer. This thing was not fitting in only earlier. There's always this discrepancy. Now it becomes very clear because you reach these higher stages where your mind can be absolutely in the void, and the moment you only think about doing something wrong, it spoils it. Then it becomes very clear, oh, the moment I do, I am the one who experiences the dukkha. The moment I stay in that void, I see it is the flow that does the things. It is the flow of things that is happening. I am not doing and I am not even experiencing. You reach a stage where the water is absolutely still, not moving. You reach here, one thought does what? This takes so long to settle. And now it's not settling. And by saying settle, come on, settle. Settle. Settle now. Oh, all because of him. I was thinking about him. See? Aren't you doing this? You are fighting with your own self. Who started the drama? I. Who's suffering? I. Very simple this becomes. Yeah? So now, when you go into your wonderful tranquil state, stop. Stop. I'm not going to initiate a thought from my side. Yeah. Super clear what he means by wholesome, unwholesome, and how unwholesome destroys my only tranquility and causes affliction to me. And of course, when I am in drama, I throw that drama out to others. And then both our lives are complicated. It doesn't stop there, no? The other person then wants to throw it back to me. Then I throw it back to it. Chalu rehta hai. Yeah? So it creates a lot of mess. That initiation of action needs to stop. Super clear? Not just action, speech, action happens after thought, right? And speech also happens after thought. So it actually begins at the thought, and if you've been so unaware, you've not even realized it came from the thought, you already jumped to speech. So stop there. But if you jump to action, you'll have to go through it. Now is it super clear? Super clear? No.
This ties to yesterday's Sutta, right? About seeking. So this initiation is a part of that
Seeking, yes, absolutely. You are seeking something, that is why you're taking that action. But seeking also came from some craving first. That craving happened inside. Craving ke pehle there was a feeling, a pleasant or unpleasant feeling. Feeling leads to, bolo, craving. Craving leads to clinging. From clinging comes seeking. And then you seek to do something, the action comes up.
Whole story is avidya. All these thoughts are all avidya.
Yeah, but ऐसे सिखाया तो था. भगवद गीता में सिखाया था, समझ आया? पतंजलि में सिखाया था, गया? अष्टावक्र में सिखाया था. नहीं समझा ना? Unless it is told direct in bullet points, the ego is not ready to accept. And then just by telling, is it sufficient? You make me experience it. The moment I start experiencing it, it becomes my truth. Now when a Buddha comes and says, no, dukkha is not caused by you, will you believe him? My dukkha, I caused it. I know. Do you see this, what I'm saying? Yeah? You got structure from Buddha. It's a map into your own mind. And it's so amazing. It works for all of us. The global positioning system. The position of every mind is the same.
We don't even need to upgrade this map.
We need to upgrade.
We don't even need to upgrade.
You don't even need to upgrade. It applies in every day and age. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in me. I understood thus. This thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. But with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind becomes strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from collectedness. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought it to singleness, and collected it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be strained. Understood why even not a wholesome thought comes after it? Because that also shakes my tranquility. You don't want to get shaken out of it. Do you see what I'm saying? So even a wholesome thought, a good thought, you don't want to encourage it. You don't want to feed it. Usually a thought comes, then we keep feeding it, and chains of thoughts. This will stop. Automatically it will stop. There'll just be vijnana. And Sunday will seem like an effort. You will stop there. It's just vijnana. It's absolute pure vijnana. Yeah? It's 100% awareness because it is not polluted by the next cycle of sanya, vedana, husband-wife, and then sankharas, the whole drama inside doesn't happen only. It's just pure vijnana. So did I read 8? Yeah, even a thought of renunciation, a wholesome thought can disturb that tranquility. So even for a day or night and day, it's poetic, okay? It's shloka type, Sanskrit shloka type poetic. So even if I do that, what will happen? By thinking and pondering, even about a good thought, what will happen? It will tire my body. And then, because the body is tired, the mind becomes strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from collectedness. You understand collectedness, no? Unified mind. Otherwise, you're so scattered. When you go back home, what happens? You feel you're thinking about work, about friends, about this, about that, about husband, about child. Scattered mind. So recognize this thing that the body will get tired, the mind will get strained, and when the mind is strained, it is far from collectedness. Yeah, this becomes your truth, your realization, and you just can't budge. You cannot allow all this nonsense drama to happen. Yeah? So this is the main point. If ever your mind starts going into negativity, because I told you, past sankharas will definitely keep coming. And if you lose to them, if you lose the battle, remind yourself this thing that Buddha says. Body is going to get strained, then mind is going to get strained, and I'm far from a collected mind. I'm a scatterbrain. It's going to bug and bother me only. And there'll be a lot of affliction, a lot of pain that I will go through. in the last sentence. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought to singleness. Yeah, ekagrita again. Yeah. Everywhere you see concentrated, it is collectiveness. Yeah. And why? So that my mind should not be strained. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of non-ill will arose in me, a thought of non-cruelty arose in me. I understood thus. This thought of non-cruelty has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from it. But with excessive thinking and pondering, I might tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind gets strained. And when the mind is strained, it is far from concentration. So I steadied my mind internally, quieted it, brought it to singleness, and concentrated it. Just collected it. Why is that? So that my mind should not be strained. Even a thought of non-ill will is too much burden in that void. Thoughts are a burden. Simple. Thoughts are burden. You are just established in that void. So see, all these are good thoughts, thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will. But that also, just imagine the state of this void. And it's not too far for you. You all can get there. Why am I reading this out? So that you start understanding the importance of that void and start just being aware and experiment. Have a thought of ill will and see what happens to you. See how your full day meditation gets ruined just by one little thought of ill will, even if it's not to a human, to an ant or something. And see how everything shakes inside. Too risky to experiment. तो जाना ही नहीं है. Bhikkhus, whatever a bhikkhu frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of renunciation, he has abandoned the thought of sensual desire to cultivate the thought of renunciation. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of renunciation. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of non-ill will, upon thoughts of non-cruelty, he has abandoned the thought of cruelty to cultivate the thought of non-cruelty. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of non-cruelty. Just as in the last month of the hot season, when all the crops have been brought inside the villages, a cowherd would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree or out in the open, since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there. So too, there was need for me only to be mindful that those states were there. There are no crops to be eaten now. Yeah? So he doesn't have to do the hike anymore. Yeah? He didn't have to really do that. Hike. You have to just be aware that only wholesomeness, all the wholesome cows are there. Tireless energy was aroused in me and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled. My mind concentrated, which is collected and unified. Okay. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, I entered upon and abided in the first jhana. You're getting this? Now Buddha is talking about his jhanas. Which jhanas you learned first? Sariputta's jhanas. Remember? Yeah. So now we have to go to Sutta for number 23. Sutta for number 23, page number 104. So 104, right at the bottom it is there. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, I entered upon and abided in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. Is this very clear now, first jhana? All of this you have experienced? Yeah? There is applied thought, there is sustained thought, there is rapture, and there is pleasure in the mind. Next, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, I entered upon and abided in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind without applied and sustained thought, with rapture and pleasure born of concentration. Yes, the sukha in the mind is the predominant thing. Otherwise, the rapture has become background now. Soft in the background. For some, it almost disappeared. Yeah, and mind was very unified, very single. Yeah, but thoughts had almost stilled. With the fading away as well of rapture, I abided in equanimity and mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure with the body. I entered upon and abided in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones announce, he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. Yes, third jhana is pretty easy. Your pitti is almost vanished. Yeah. Though he says fading away, it's really not there. Yeah. And you'll read in some other suttas, he has given a list of thorns. So he says rapture is a thorn for third jhana. You feel this, no? You're feeling so equanimous and suddenly you start feeling the weird pitti back and you're like, just spoiling my tranquility. Yes, it is really like a thorn for third jhana.
So in the first two jhanas, he used pleasure just stand alone.
Yeah, now he says pleasure of the body.
Pleasure with the body. Is there a difference?
Yeah. Slowly, as you start looking at the pleasures, there's a pleasantness in the body, and there is a gladness in the mind. There is a difference in the quality. This can only be experienced, not explained, because the words are also separate. So manasa is the pleasure of the mind. Sukha is actually pleasure of the body. Yeah? And you will realize it when you're sitting for a very long time and still there is no pain. There's a pleasantness in the body. You've been sitting a long time and you're expecting pain to be there. Oh, suddenly I sat for 3 hours today, first time. But there's this pleasantness in the body. Yeah, that's the pleasantness of the body. Mind might have had hundreds of disturbing thoughts. On the other hand, it's a pleasantness in the mind, tranquility. Still your body could be hurting. Are you getting the two different things? Yeah, and you've experienced both by now, what I'm telling you. You've experienced a third one also, where you have pleasantness of the mind and of the body. Yes? That pleasantness almost seems like absolute stillness. Nothing is happening. That's jhana 4. No pain, no pleasure, nothing. It's so pleasant that it's not pleasant also anymore. Yeah? It's settled down. Remember, I always say settle down from the third, like mud settles in a beaker of water. Exactly like that. You settle down. That pleasantness also settles down. How will it feel when pleasantness settles down? Softness, that softness in that body, in the body, and with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, I entered upon and abided in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. Now you can connect with it, those who have reached there. That's why you felt nothing is happening. Nothing is happening because there is no joy and there is no grief also. You're saying nothing is happening because you're still looking for something. Now, have you noticed from 1 to 4, it became subtler and subtler and subtler. Did you notice this? In piti, it's like a flared up, strong sensation. In sukha, it is softer. And then you come to 3, it's tranquil, even softer and subtler. And there's finally no pain, no pleasure where you say, kuch nahi ho raha hai. Nothing is happening. Today is a flop day. That's happened. Yeah? Subtleness. That's why from here you go into immaterial jhanas which are subtler. Yes? Why is it called Rupa and Arupa? Rupa is form of the body. Arupa, no form. Yes? That is why once you go into the formless jhanas or immaterial jhanas, the bodilessness is the predominant thing. It's always there. That which is always there is not mentioned because it's always there. What is the point of mentioning? Clear hua? When my concentrated mind was thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, I directed it to knowledge of recollection of past lives. This is Buddha's enlightenment. It is different from Sariputta's enlightenment. What we are learning, all the students of Buddha learned Sariputta's enlightenment path, not Buddha's enlightenment path. Because Buddha was at a higher level. And just by going into the jhanas, he went to his past lives. Are you getting it? That's, at this point, that is the only difference. Yeah? The moment he transitioned from material towards immaterial, he went into past lives. Yeah? I recollected my manifold past lives, that is, 1 birth, 2 births, 3 births, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000, 100,000, many eons of world contraction, many eons of world expansion, many eons of world contraction and expansion. This was Buddha's enlightenment. There I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my nutriment, such was my experience of pleasure and pain, such my life term, and passing away from there, I reappeared elsewhere. And there too I was so named, of such a clan, with such an appearance, such was my nutriment, such my experience of pleasure and pain, such my life term. And passing away from there, I reappeared here. Thus, with their aspects and particulars, I recollected my manifold past lives. This was the first true knowledge attained by me in the first watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished and light arose, as happens in one who abides diligent, ardent, and resolute. When my concentrated mind was thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, I directed it to knowledge of the passing away and reappearance of things. What does that mean? Passing away and reappearance of things means, what is it called? Anicca. That is why his first teaching is of impermanence. Because the moment he came out of his enlightenment, that was his first thing. He said, no, he went through so many lifetimes, again he reappeared, again he died, again he reappeared. So he said, oh, everything changes, everything is impermanent, everything is impermanent. Yeah, so that's what he started teaching first, anicca. Everything is impermanent. What does my ego want? Permanent. I dream also permanent. I think also permanent. Even if it is impermanent, I fake myself to believe this will last forever. Right? Yeah, other people ka problem hoga, but not mine. For me, it's going to last forever. I don't want to face the truth that this is impermanent. Right? And that is why there is dukkha. So the second teaching was dukkha. There is misery. Understood? Anicca, dukkha. With the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I saw beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate. I understood how beings pass on according to their actions thus. These worthy beings who were ill conducted in body, speech, and mind, revilers of noble ones, wrong in their views, giving effect to wrong view in their actions, on the dissolution of the body after death, have reappeared in a state of deprivation, in a bad destination, in perdition, even in hell. Understood? Basically, if you do bad deeds, you'll end up in a bad state. Yeah. But now, really don't take these words very strongly, hell and heaven. It's not that really there is a spot called hell up there. It's just that you will end up in a very distressed kind of a body, not a happy body. You won't have a happy mind. You won't have, the simple basic needs of life will not be satisfied. Everything will be just painful, painful, painful. Yeah. So it has just got to do with unwholesome deeds. If you do unwholesome deeds, you'll end up there. You do wholesome deeds, you'll end up in very a place that helps you progress spiritually and take you up faster. Yeah, you'll have all the basic pleasures of the world and you'll not even crave for them. So that's what happens when you have cultivated wholesome states. There is even a sutta on what needs to be cultivated and what needs to not be cultivated. That's the name of the sutta. Yeah, so he's very clear that you cultivate these wholesome states. Yeah, and they really have that effect. If one unwholesome thought can disturb and shake my tranquility, just imagine bunch of unwholesome things that you do in your entire life. They have to give their end result in the next lifetime. No? So it's just mathematics really. But these worthy beings who were well conducted in body, speech and mind, not revilers of noble ones, right in their views, giving effect to right view in their actions, on the dissolution of the body after death, have reappeared in a good destination, even in the heavenly world. Thus, with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I saw beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and I understood how beings pass on according to their actions. He saw this in his meditation. This is a part of his enlightenment. Yeah. So his enlightenment was the tough one, the past lives first and then the divine eye. This is called the divine eye. The sections in how it is described. So section 1 is past lives section, and then the section 2 is divine eye, where he sees the different realms of existence that you have only studied. But again he teaches you, you have not seen it. It is not your experience yet. He is just narrating his own enlightenment. And Buddha was never of the kind that you believe me. This was the second true knowledge attained by me in the middle watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished and light arose, as happens in one who abides diligent, ardent, and resolute. When my concentrated mind was thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, I directed it to knowledge of the destruction of the taints. I directly knew as it actually is. This is suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the origin of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the cessation of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. I directly knew as it actually is. These are the taints. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the origin of the taints. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the cessation of the taints. I directly knew as it actually is. This is the way leading to the cessation of the taints. Where have you learned this before? What is it called? Four Noble Truths. He experienced them in his enlightenment. When I knew and saw thus, my mind was liberated from the taint of sensual desire, from the taint of being, and from the taint of ignorance. When it was liberated, there came the knowledge, it is liberated. I directly knew birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. Now we go back to page 209. You remember we started there, right? Or have you forgotten? Yeah. So there he says again, if you see after Sutta 4 in bracket 23 to 32, I directly knew birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. This was the third true knowledge attained by me in the last watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished and light arose, as happens in one who abides diligent, ardent, and resolute. This is Buddha's enlightenment. Suppose, bhikkhus, that in a wooded range there was a great low-lying marsh near which a large herd of deer lived. Then a man appeared, desiring their ruin, harm, and bondage. He closed off the safe and good path to be travelled joyfully, and he opened up a false path. And he put a decoy and set up a dummy so that the large herd of deer might later come upon calamity, desire, and loss. Are you understanding what's happening? It's just a story. He's saying there's one person, a bad person comes and he closes the correct path and he opens up the wrong path. Just so that the deer get into trouble. Super clear? Okay. But another man came desiring their good, welfare, and protection. And he reopened the safe and good path that led to their happiness. And he closed off the false path. He removed the decoy and he destroyed the dummy so that the large herd of deer might later come to growth, increase, and fulfillment. समझ गया? The good person comes and he removes all the decoy, dummy, the false path, and he opens the good path so that they grow. Yeah. Bhikkhus, I have given this simile in order to convey a meaning. This is the meaning. The great low-lying marsh is a term for sensual pleasures. The large herd of deer is a term for beings. The man desiring their ruin, harm, and bondage is a term for Mara, the evil one. The false path is a term for the wrong eightfold path. That is wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness, and wrong samadhi. The decoy is a term for delight and lust. The dummy is a term for ignorance. So the bad person put up ignorance, put up delight and lust. And who's the bad person? Mara. Got it? Yes, and he put the wrong path, which is have wrong views, do wrong things, wrong livelihood, sab chalta hai. It's okay if you lie, it's okay if you steal, you will prosper materially. This is the wrong path. Yeah? The wrong mindfulness is where it's only superficial, temporary relief, but not the permanent peace that you can attain by yourself. Not giving you the right kind of samadhi, which is possible for each one of us. But Mara will come and give us the wrong kind of samadhi, which is, what is wrong kind of samadhi? Which does not really take you all the way to Nibbana. Somewhere you'll just become quiet for some time. Yeah, few samadhi levels, but you have not got rid of dukkha. So in 8 dhyanas from the Rig Veda, you don't get rid of dukkha. What's the point, he said? Understood? So he's saying all the way to the right samadhi is important. That which gets you out of dukkha. Now you know why people got angry. Yeah? But the truth is, the truth. The ones who really walked the path, they got enlightened, and that itself was the proof of the path. Yeah? He never sat and defended himself. He did not get into arguments. Lots of people means almost a country was against him. Yeah? Because he was challenging their main scripture. One man show. The man desiring their good, welfare and protection is a term for the Tathagata. Tathagata, tat pe jo aa gaya. The one who has reached the shore. Tat. Tat pe jo aa gaya. Tathagata. The one who has reached the shore. It's just a fancy term for one who is enlightened. Understood, no? So the man desiring their good, welfare and protection is a term for the Tathagata, accomplished and fully enlightened. The safe and good path to be travelled joyfully is a term for the noble eightfold path. That is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right collectedness. So, bhikkhus, the safe and good path to be travelled joyfully has been reopened by me. The wrong path has been closed off, the decoy removed, and the dummy destroyed. What should be done for his disciples out of compassion by a teacher who seeks their welfare and has compassion for them, that I have done for you, bhikkhus. There are these roots of trees, these empty huts. Meditate, bhikkhus. Do not delay, or else you will regret it later. This is our instruction to you. That is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So he says, there are trees, there are no trees over here, pillars. So fast, go lean against them and sit and meditate. It's only 9 o'clock. You have a good 1.5 hours to meditate. Yeah, you can do a long meditation. Otherwise, what does he say? You will regret it. Remember, these 9 days are not coming back. Yeah? We don't know. Yeah? So don't dream. You become sincere now. You sit and meditate.